Well, an important update today on the Indian Cultural Center and Museum. I'm Dave Morris here in the Oklahoma's video studio. Our man Steve Blackmeyer, who covers downtown for us, was at a committee meeting with the City Council today. And Steve, we heard an update on the Indian Cultural Center. What was thought to happen and then what did happen?
Before this morning, it was looking pretty bad. Keep in mind, the state legislature passed a bill last year that dictated that the cultural center completion, which they had let stall a few years back, was suddenly going to be the city's problem. This was not something the city sought out, not something they embraced either. But the city didn't immediately say no. They hired some consultants with expertise in development, in museums and cultural attractions, and also in terms of land, engineering, contamination, and so forth. The state's idea was that they would put up the bond issue to complete construction, but the city would have to use the surrounding land to develop as a funding source for operations of the cultural center, and any upside would go to the state, and any downside and risk would be assumed by the city. Great deal for the state, considering they were the ones that created this situation by punting the ball year after year.
City did its due diligence, found they weren't exactly warm to that idea or adopting all the costs associated with it today. William Crum is also working on this story with you, and he reported earlier that the Chickasaw Nation has entered the story.
Yes, we broke the story at 1 o'clock. This is a huge turnaround. Mayor Mick Cornett, City Council members David Greenwell, Mark Stonecipher all indicated that they were about to be at an impasse with the state over this, and they were honestly thinking about not doing anything and just telling the state thanks but no thanks, which would have had other ugly ramifications because the city donated the land and they've got a clause that would allow them to claw back that land if the state doesn't do this. But at the same time, the state legislature is not known for always being friendly to the city now, and what would they do if the city actually tried such a response? You could have seen lawsuits, it would have gotten ugly. But the Chickasaws came in with a whole new offer, and it totally changes the ball game.
Proposal includes up to $14 million from the tribe over 7 years to cover anticipated operating deficits. We're looking at some file footage. This facility, by the way, is located at the intersection of I-35 and I-40. The tribe would also underwrite a portion of the cost to finish construction of the center. And Steve, their offer to partner with the city of Oklahoma City introduces a long missing element to the stalled project, an economic powerhouse with extensive experience in development, tourism, and running museums and cultural attractions.
Yes, one thing that we need to clarify, and we've already seen some response online, well, they're going to build a casino. No, absolutely not.
And there's some reasons why they can't.
No, they can't. First of all, state law prohibits it. Second of all, the property deed prohibits it. Finally, the Chickasaw Nation itself is promising they have no such plan. They will not build a casino. They already have extensive casino operations elsewhere in the state. WinStar in South Oklahoma, it's the world's largest casino. You also have Riverwind down in Norman. And they've got a casino with their Artesian Hotel there in Sulphur, which is a beautiful, beautiful resort, old-style hotel. But they're not just doing casinos. Chickasaws, perhaps more than any other tribe in the state, has been very, very aggressive, working very hard to diversify. I get the sense they can see casinos are not always a sure thing. And you only have to look up to New England and some situations up there in Atlantic City and elsewhere to know it's not always a sure thing. So they've been diversifying. They've built a hospital down in Ada. They've got health centers throughout the state. They own a bank. They own a handful of radio stations. They own some daycare centers. They also have Bedre chocolates, a very popular chocolate. They're big in tourism. More importantly, they know how to operate museums and cultural centers. Consultants hired by the city said, beware, cities do not have a good track record in owning and operating these museums and cultural centers. They're not equipped to do it. They don't have the experience. Furthermore, people who might give money to such an operation are less likely to do so because their response might be, well, I pay taxes to the city. They can handle this whole project on their own. So from a philanthropic standpoint, it's not a great proposition for the city to be involved in such an operation.
You mentioned consultants. They spoke at the meeting today. What happens next here, Steve? And are there gaps to be considered?
Oh, yes. Well, the deal envisions the Chickasaw Nation partnering up with the city to build and complete the venue. And it's going to take another, well,
A handful of years, right?
it's going to take another 4 years, and they're looking at anywhere from 35 to 55 million. It's up there. It's millions of dollars. The state's offering some money, but the cost to get it done may be more than what the state is saying. That's according to Guernsey, the engineer that looked at the project, and some other consultants that were hired. As far as the development of the surrounding land, you've got every sort of utility line going through the property. You've got some old oil wells. You've got some access issues that will have to be addressed. They need to extend a road all the way through to get to Southeast 15th for this to really be viable, is what they were told today. And the ordinary developer, they would just get clobbered on the costs of just doing this before they could ever recover any revenue from it. Chickasaw Nation's no ordinary developer. And that's the key to this. They have the assets, they have the experience. They also have the experience in handling these sort of cultural institutions and getting them going. Remember, they opened the Chickasaw Cultural Center, and that's done quite well, and we see that promoted quite a bit. So they know how to launch this kind of operation too. I would say that their tourism department, which works closely with the Oklahoma Department of Tourism, is a huge part of that state tourist push. You see their advertising everywhere. You see
Sure.
their promotions. It's not just in Oklahoma. They're promoting our state outside of our boundaries. So they bring a lot to the table. The city and the Chickasaw Nation haven't gotten along in every issue. They're still in an ongoing battle over water rights. But on this one, they seem very, very eager to work with each other to try to overcome this mess that really wasn't theirs to begin with. This is a legacy of failure by the state legislature, and the Chickasaw Nation has stepped forward to try to break the impasse and help this move forward with the city.
He's the man with the Christmas tie, Steve Lackmeyer. He was at the meeting today. He'll have more coverage in upcoming editions of the Oklahoma and, of course, online at newsok.com. He also provides good context during these meetings on his Twitter feed. You can follow him at Steve Lackmeyer. Steve, thanks for stopping in. Some context and analysis. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.